Long time, Ned.
Hey, how are you, Joey? Good to see you.
Hang in there. It's been a while since we Q and A'd for Rigby.
That's right. That's right. I remember.
One theater is no longer even in existence,
I
which
know, sunshine is gone.
makes me feel old. Uh,
No, right?
and the Paris wasn't a Netflix house, so it was a whole different world. Uh,
Exactly.
and it's been too long since you've directed a movie, so I'm glad that we got this.
Yeah, happy to be here talking to you
Oh
about
yeah.
it.
So, um, silly perhaps, but like what made this the movie to make? Obviously, I'm sure there are ideas and things work out, things don't, writing assignments, but why did this one stick? Why did you stick with it?
Well, I think after Eleanor Rigby, I started writing for other people a lot, and I was working on commercials, and I wrote a few movies that we tried to put together. There's one in 2016 that I couldn't quite get the financing for, and then one in 2018 that I wrote that I really loved, but it just the timing felt wrong on that movie. It didn't seem like I was the guy to direct it. So then the pandemic hit, and these two things had kind of fallen apart, and I had written a draft of this in like 2009 and put it on the shelf. And my manager was like, this is kind of an interesting one to think about through the lens of lockdown and the pandemic. Why don't you pull it out? And I did. And so I worked on it through the pandemic, and just this idea of being isolated in a space, pretty much with music as your companion and whoever was in your pod, or, my wife, etc. But, music became this solve in that period, and really I re-engaged the script through that lens, and then it sort of became this thing that once we sort of sent it out, Searchlight wanted to make it, and I was making a movie.
And you're like, yes, yes, I will make the movie. um, and also, I mean, it also feels like a really satisfying thing to work on during that time period as like a way to stay sane. Like it is a very like work out your emotions script. Like it's kind of perfect for that.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's all about emotions and psychology, and the power of those, the immense power of those things sometimes, to the point that they could make you time travel.
Yeah.
um so it was definitely a fun one. There's a magical realism to it as well, so I think it was a nice experience during that time to really focus on something like this.
And you sort of like I said, magical realism, but it is like among the more grounded, sort of like primer, like time travel movies that you could possibly have. So I imagine you have to make that decision at some point. Like, how much do I want to explain? How much is just go with it? How much is we're making it up as we go along? Like there, you just have to follow whatever logic you decide you have to keep with, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we had the sort of length of a song as one kind of grounding mechanism, but really working with Lucy, we talked about grounding the movie in emotion and character. So really, it feeling unclear whether this was something psychological or magically real, and until you get to a certain point of the movie, you can question that. But I think by grounding it in emotion, it felt like a testament to the power of emotion through music.
Oh, yeah. And when I spoke to her a couple minutes ago, we were talking about it's almost like getting paid to go to therapy for her. She can, go through all these emotions in the safest environment possible, and it just makes the character have layers. And to what you were saying, like earlier on, when it's a question of whether it's for lack of a better word, real or not, the effect on her is real. So at the end of the day, she's having this experience, right? However it's happening, she's having this experience, and that's what people are seeing. So there is this like very specific truth to what's going on that is, I think, incredibly relatable, despite it being a time travel movie.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what we were going for. I think in rehearsals, we really, as a team and as a group with the other actors, wanted to find this kind of grounded, organic movie that had this magically real element. But she was phenomenal, and the whole the whole troupe of actors was phenomenal to work with, and
Oh, yeah,
how we found this. So
yeah, you have a talent for finding actors. It's we know this by now, but like you just sort of watch them deal with it, right? And everyone deals with it in a way that's very almost unmovie like. No, the questions aren't asking questions that are just plot points, and the people who kind of buy into it earlier on don't do it in a way that feels like, oh, we just need a character to go along so she can talk about it. It just feels like these personalities would understand or not understand, and it's got a sort of lived in vibe that's hard to pull off for something that's dancing in like the genre world in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we wanted to start at that point where she has exhausted these friendships, that people are kind of sick of where she's at, for lack of a better word. And I think Morris is the last man standing, as he says. He's like, he's there to be her friend and support her, but like David winds up being the one who's, they have this sort of gift of the magi moment, you know what I mean? He's able to really, the analogy of when you meet someone and fall in love with them is really about this understanding and empathy that connects you to, and a vulnerability. And I think all of the, Lucy and Justin and David all were really kind of beautifully vulnerable in this movie, in terms of just, you know being open and personal, and it felt like a very personal experience to all of us, which was great.
Oh yeah. And then even just for you, what does it feel like when you're on set directing again? Making a movie that is a movie, right? With a capital M, even though, the landscape has changed, the arguments, a decade ago were, well, how much time in the theater will it have? And now it's, is there a theater? Like, but still you're making a movie. The process is the same. Does it feel somehow more satisfying just to be able to be back at it?
Oh yeah, it's it's
Yeah.
it's such an awesome experience. I love making movies. Like you feel so lucky every time you get the chance to make one, because it's such an awesome creative experience. You're so creatively fulfilled throughout the whole time, and you have to be so on it. I was talking to my wife about this, and it's just like, after it's over, you almost feel like you were possessed, like, because you have to be on for however long in this shoot. But I think the creative spirit experience of like finding these scenes with these actors and this crew that was so amazing, and just finding this synthesis of everyone's creative input, is such a special experience. So it's awesome. I love doing it. So I feel really lucky on this one.
Everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone wants to play. Like, I mean, it feels very, very to watch the movie. There's not a sense of like, well, there was some from higher above. No, it's like, this is the movie I wanted to make, and whatever that means, good, bad, and different, is I'm making the thing I want. And I imagine there's fuel to that, of like, I can only control while it's being made, right? This is when I have my say, right? And obviously things worked out last time, but there was, other stuff going on. Here you have, I'm making a movie about someone, ironically, who's lost an element of control, but I get
Mm-hmm.
to have the control while I'm making it. It really sort of is the perfect thing for you to be making.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, Searchlight was such an awesome collaborator on it. They just really take care of the filmmakers they work with, and really support them, and obviously push them, in the right ways. And, it was, it was definitely the right movie at the right time.
Yeah. Which is, almost impossible to know until you're doing it, which is, it'd be great information to have before you started, but you kind of have to hope once you're there that everyone's like, no, this is gonna work. And like that feeling, I also imagine is, it could be a day, and it could be a week, and it could be on the last day where you go, I think we're gonna get this. Like, it's gonna work out. It's got to be like you can almost breathe for a second.
Yeah, I think there's those first few days that, our schedule was pretty, there weren't a lot of like big scenes really, at least in the first week. We did like accidents and kind of more technical stuff and driving around. And then we got to like Lucy's first emotional scene in the grief group. And I remember that day, her first take where she like stands up and shares. I was just like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
It was just like watching an actor really give themselves in such an amazing way. So it was awesome.
I think if you would start, if that was day one, I think it would be like, one, kind of an unfair ask. And also, two, you're just like, well, sink or swim now. But the idea of building up to it is also kind of in keeping with the character. Like she is sort of building up to the shares. You don't get the sense that we've missed a ton of speeches at that group. You get the sense of we're there for the breakthrough in a way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, yeah, she was such a special person to work with. I mean, as I said, the whole cast was, but I think this shoot was just awesome. We had so
Hmm.
much fun, and I think it just was so great to go to work every day. And obviously, maybe I'm giving it rose-colored glasses in hindsight, but it just was such a fun experience. And I think we got to shoot all over Los Angeles, which is rare.
Yeah.
Um, LA is really a character in the city, so um, it was really a special experience and a tough one to let go of.
Oh, 100%. And I think watching it, you get that sense. And if you're just writing for someone else, like there's obviously joy to be found in satisfaction and creativity and stuff, but you're doing a job, right? You're doing it with an eye on I want to work. I'd like to pay my bills. Like this is fun to create these characters, but it's not the same as I'm writing something and I know that if all goes well, a year from now, 6 months from now, whenever, I'm going to say action and watch somebody do a version of the thing in my head that then I can go, well, in my head it was, and we can find this whole other version. It's a special thing. Like there's only a finite amount of people who get to do it.
It's so true, and like I said, I just feel so lucky that I get to do it, and have had the chances to do it and work with the extraordinary people that I have worked with.
Yeah. And
In doing.
it's certainly doesn't hurt when you see what happens after you make the movies with him. Like, oh, okay, cool. So he's Superman now. All right. Somebody, I think I chose well. Good job, me.
No, he's fantastic, and he's going to make an amazing Superman and Clark Kent. In fact, when we were in pre-production, or like even when I met him, I was like, this guy is born to play Clark Kent. So
Yeah.
I think everybody
And then
felt that too.
anyway, it's like, well, sometimes we're all just right about something. It happens once in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
It's for me, I can't tell you how excited I was when I saw because I was interested in the movie, but then when I saw who directed it and who wrote it, I went, oh shit, Ned got to make his movie finally. I was actually legitimately happy. So I was very excited to watch it and knew even then I was like, I gotta have another chat with you. So I'm glad we were able to make this happen and please do not wait another decade to make another one. Like,
I'll try not to. I'll try not to for sure.
I mean, obviously it's not your choice, but still, like there's like the idea of such a specific and interesting voice sort of having the weight is a shame. And there's other things out there, but it's should be more.
Well, I appreciate that, Joey, and I think it's kind of just on me to come up with something that I'm really excited about. Again, I think I'm pretty particular when it comes to choosing things to direct because it's years out of your life and it's such an intense experience. But writing for other people, I could do all day, every day, forever. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, excited to get back in it again as well.
Excellent. I can't wait for what's next. Thank you so much for doing this and congrats. You deserve it. You've earned it.
Thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate it. Great to
It's
see
a
you.
pleasure.
Hopefully,
Likewise.
hopefully those theaters, at least the Paris will stick around for a
Yeah,
while.
Paris is safe, so we got that at least.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Good to see you.